Let's talk about empathy. What is empathy? Now, I mentioned about a number of things that we need to develop when we are talking about positive customer centric mindset and creating positive customer experience. It starts with mindset and then goes to empathy, curiosity, and a number of other things. But first question, what is empathy? And every time I ask this question to anyone, the most common answer they say is trying to be in customers' shoes, which in a way is a right answer, but not quite. Let me give you an example. If I ask you to write letter F on your forehead, how would you write that? And if I specify my question that write letter F for me on your forehead, how would you do it? Now, there are two ways to do that. One is when you write it, you write F so that you can see it properly. And there's another way to write F is exactly opposite, where the next person can read it properly, but that's opposite to you. And both ways will tell you how empathetic you are to your customer, how empathetic you are to the next person. A lot of times we take it to the heart that being in somebody's shoes is important, which is 100% yes, it is true. But we forget that before we get into their shoes, we need to get out of our shoes. And that, I think, is a critical factor. Let me tell you a story that happened on one of the busy streets of a big city. On that busy street of a big city, somewhere in the central business district, there used to be a homeless man asking for alms every single day. And occasionally he would also ask passerby, what is the time? Just across the street there was a big building, a big tower, where there were several offices, and there was one young man who used to work in one of those offices, was quite observant. He used to see this homeless man every single day. And he was curious. He was wondering, why this man is asking time every single passerby or at occasion. And then he decided that let me help this person. And so he decided to donate a little electronic watch to him. And the next day he goes to this old homeless man, says, you know what, mister, I have this watch for you. I have seen you asking for time so many times. Maybe this will solve your problem. This is a watch for you, my gift to you. The old man is very happy. He gets this watch, ties on his wrists, and he says, how do I look? Young man says, yeah, you look good. Now, the next thing that this old man asks to this young man kind of startles him. He asks, so young man, what's the time? Can you tell me? And this guy is now wondering, why is he asking me time again? That's the whole reason why I gave him this watch. He says, look, I'm homeless, but I'm also partially blind. I can't read tiny little things. So I can't read the time on this watch anyway. So can you please tell me what's the time? Now leave that story apart and think for a moment as to what went wrong here. This young man had all the right things to think about. His heart was in the right place. He was thinking to help this old homeless man. And still he ended up not helping him anyway. Why did that happen? And the answer is simple. He was trying to be in that old man's shoes, but he didn't remove his own shoes first. He didn't think about what was the problem. Why was he even asking for time repeatedly? Had he asked that question at least once, things would have been different. He may have helped him differently. So that's how we need to do with our customers, just assuming something may not be very helpful. So we have to develop this curiosity. And the good thing about curiosity is when we are curious about something, we become more innovative. We start to think creatively about that particular thing. But instead of think, if you are curious about someone, you become empathetic. You come across as empathetic, you develop empathy because now you're asking questions instead of being judgmental. And that's the key here, being curious. There was this another story with a Pontiac model of General Motors. Pontiac was quite well-known General Motors car. And one fine day, president of GM Pontiac division received a letter, and the letter was from one of the customers. Surprised to see that letter on his desk, he reads that letter, which essentially says that, look, I have been following up, trying to get in touch with every single person in your customer service and all. I couldn't get them to understand my problem. My problem is we have this tradition in our family where after every dinner we opt for an ice cream, and then I go and buy that ice cream. But since I have purchased Pontiac car, every time I go and buy vanilla ice cream, my car doesn't start. It sounds silly, but this is true. I'm your customer, please help me. And if president was just president, if he hadn't been curious, he probably would have just torn this letter and thrown out in the dustbin. He didn't. He basically assigned an intern to go and find out what's going wrong. And this guy then goes out and then he figures out what is happening there. And well and true, this happens first time when they go to buy ice cream and they buy for strawberry and nothing happens. Car starts just fine. Second time they go, they buy strawberry ice cream, nothing happens. Car starts just fine. Third time they go, they buy vanilla ice cream and car doesn't start. And this man, this intern, is wondering how the heck this is possible. Why vanilla ice cream would make that car not start? Again, this person was curious enough to ask more questions, empathize with customers. He started to look at it from engineering perspective, and he found that whenever they were buying vanilla ice cream, the transaction was very quick because vanilla was pretty well known, and everybody wanted vanilla most of the time. So the time between the person turning off the car, going back into the shop, getting the vanilla ice cream and coming back was less than what he would have taken for other flavors of ice cream. And that then gave them the idea that the vapor lock phenomena that happens in the engine, internal combustion engine, is the reason behind it. Eventually they fixed it, but think about it, if they were not curious enough, if they were not empathetic with their customer, how long would it have taken for them to fix this problem? So curiosity is really the key in developing empathy, and empathy is something, it's a vital factor if you want to give positive experience to your customers. Customer experience is all about transforming people, which in turn transforms your business. Think about the hot dog seller and his son. How would their business have changed only if son had a positive outlook? We always hear amazing customer experience stories from the past, and we try to recreate those things again and again, which, by the way, is a good thing to do. But if you want to design a better customer experience for the future, intentional future stories are the way to go. And that begins here with our mindset. When we keep positive mindset, when we show empathy to see and feel what our customers see and feel, when we listen to what is being said and not being said, and then we act on that. And not just that, but then we persevere regardless of the challenges, we succeed. So let's do it. Let's invest in positive intentions. Let's take positive actions. Let's show some courage and be bold. Let's create a better customer experience.